Hey, it's Charleen and Ellie from the Home I Drink podcast. We want to tell you about a brand new true crime podcast that we are highly recommending. Do you like true crime, Ellie? I feel like you've talked about it before on the podcast.
I've mentioned it before. I love true crime. I'm obsessed with it. I get so deeply involved
Invested
in it and listening to it, and I need to find out the end result, and I'd go off googling things after listening to a true crime podcast.
And do you picture it in your head? And
Yeah. I think that's why I like it so much, listening to podcasts, is because I can kind of envision the story.
You make it up.
I can make up the story in my head. So I really, really love them.
This one is called Unusual Suspects. It's produced by GoLoud, who also produced our podcast, and it tells the story of a huge bank heist in America in the 90s, and it almost transports you back to that time.
That's why I like them, the further back ones kind of as well.
You get to kind of picture it yourself, I suppose, when it's not. And sometimes the storytellers are so engaging as well. They make you, it helps you picture it.
Yeah. So the story is mad. The people who are involved in it, you'd never, ever expect. There's an Irish priest, an IRA man turned comic book dealer.
It's always the ones you don't expect.
No, isn't it? It really is. And a retired New York cop, all part of a crazy story worth $7 million. Imagine that. $7 million is robbed from a vault.
That sounds like a film. That's something that would happen in a film. That's not even real. So this GoLoud original podcast tells the insane story of the 1993 Rochester Brinks heist, and it brings us inside the FBI hunt for those responsible on an epic journey from Ireland, America and Canada. So it's a worldwide mystery.
So we think you'll love this podcast, and we're going to leave a little bit of the trailer here now.
So, one evening in January 1993, it's sort of typically cold, bad weather evening in January here. There's a Brinks Depot, which is one of the larger, most historic money-protecting companies in the country. And so one night, some masked gunmen go in. They pretty much take down the guards who were in there counting the money. They pull a van into the depot. They load up $7.4 million and drive off with a hostage. And they're gone.
This is a story about a crime.
At least $7 million is missing after 3 armed gunmen entered the Brinks armored car facility on South Avenue last night wearing ski masks.
It's a crime unlike any other.
They are an unlikely cast of defendants.
The Irish priest of Manhattan.
It's got more twists and turns than a dime novel.
The IRA man turned comic book dealer.
You can't make this stuff up.
And an ex-cop.
This is like a once-in-a-career case.
All drawn together by one of the biggest heists in American history.
Little did we know FBI are watching it 24 hours a day.
$7.4 million vanished, the FBI chasing the strangest group of suspects and trying to untangle a web that stretches from Belfast and the H-blocks and blanket protests along Kesh all the way to the pages of Spider-Man comics and the streets of Manhattan.
Well, have you met Father Pat? He was a worthy adversary, let's just put it that way.
I refer to him as the FBI. In order to be one of them, you have to be a sociopath and a pathological liar. You have to be.
New from GoLoud, Unusual Suspects tells the incredible tale of the 1993 Rochester Brinks heist. We'll hear the inside story of the FBI's investigation into the $7.4 million robbery, and the even more remarkable tales of the men they chased in connection with it, including the Limerick-born priest, whose life in Manhattan is the stuff of local legend, and the IRA blanket man, who started a new life in New York City's underground casinos and comic book scene. We'll travel from Belfast to Rochester and on to New York City, meeting the fascinating cast of characters that make up this tale. Subscribe now to Unusual Suspects, a GoLoud original.
When the Army, the Navy and the Air Force come to take me away years ago, they covered the front of the building, the back of the building. What happened was...
Unusual Suspects is a GoLoud original podcast. It's available now for free on the GoLoud app and on all major podcast platforms.